I've been a member of the Ballwin Police Department since 1997. I've had a lot of opportunities to go into specialized positions here. I was a patrol officer initially, and then I was the school resource officer for Selvage and Crestview Middle Schools for 5 years. After that, I became a DARE officer for several Rockwood and Parkway schools. After that period, I went out on the road as a patrol sergeant, and then I did that for several years. Was asked to come in and be the supervisor over the community policing unit. When my tenure in that position was getting close to the end, I was promoted to lieutenant. After several years of being in that position, I was asked to take an administrative position, and I was the accreditation manager when the city was going through the Missouri Police Chiefs Association accreditation program. I was appointed the captain/assistant chief of the police department. I served as the assistant chief of police/captain under two previous chiefs. I've been the interim or acting police chief since October of last year. And when the opportunity presented itself, I decided that I wanted to continue to lead the agency. I've got an awesome group of men and women here, and I felt that I was in a good position to make sure that we're leading in a positive manner forward. I've always wanted to be a police officer. I grew up in the 70s, watched Adam 12, Emergency, and I always thought I kind of knew I was going to go into police work. You know, back in elementary, middle school, I thought if I just know how to drive a police car fast and shoot a gun, I'm going to be golden. I didn't realize the academic side of it. I went to college, received my bachelor's degree, and then I went on and received my master's degree. When I do talks at schools, I always tell people that, you never stop learning. There's a lot of things that you have to be really well versed in. We still use math, science, language arts each day. If you're in this job and you're not learning, you need to get out of the business because it's always changing. Things are always, there's always something to learn. Working with the people. As a police officer, there's days where you do not know how much of an impact you're going to have on people. I was a road lieutenant, and my crew got a call for a sudden death. A lady died. Unfortunately, her middle school age daughter came home from school and found her dead. Talked to her. We were able to get a hold of family. Grandparents came and got her. And, that was just like, okay, I just did my job. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, I was in a restaurant having lunch with a coworker, and this lady came up to me and she goes, "Do you know who I am?" I'm like, "No." And she goes, "You were one of the officers at my house when, I found my mom. And I want to thank you that you really showed compassion and you really helped me that day." And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's what I do every day. It's like, for me, it was just, unfortunately, another call, and she really kind of told me how much of an impact it had in her life, and that she now works in the medical field and is doing very well for herself. And she's like, "Thank you." I'm like, I didn't feel like I did anything special that day. I would expect any of my officers to do the same thing. But that's a lot of times in police work, you never get that follow-up to find out how much you had an impact on someone. And those are the things that keep you motivated to keep you moving in this job, because a lot of times you hear the negative things, you see the negative things in the media. It's the small things you're helping people out with. Started here back in '97. I just really felt like this was home for me. Even though we're in an urban area, it still has a small town feel to it. There's a lot of residents who've lived here their whole life. I was a school resource officer from 1999 through 2004, and there's still kids that I worked with in middle school. They come up to me, they have families and everything else, and they're reminiscent about that. I'm like, holy cow. They still are living here. They're still part of our community. She was the French teacher at Crestview Middle School when I started there in '99, and she went to school with my younger brother, and I went all the way through school with her older brother, but our paths never really crossed until I became the school resource officer. So we started dating and we ended up getting married. So there's people still to this day I'll run into out here in Ballwin. They're like, "You married my French teacher." My goals as police chief is a refocus on community policing. During COVID, that period, we kind of had to do separation. Now we need to get back to work. We've always been engaged with our community, but we need to get further engaged and be responsive to the citizens, what they want. I've been trying to attend different community meetings, HOA meetings. I've met with several faith leaders in our community to make sure that all of the subgroups that make up Ballwin are heard and represented. I need to make sure that I am providing what my staff needs. That is my goal, is to help them so that they can provide the highest level of service to my community. You know, it's not about me, it's about everybody else. Thank you for your ongoing support. You've been extremely supportive of us, and I want to continue to earn that support because every day we have to do it. You know, this is something that easily could go away.